And we are live. JT here, and welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I want to take a moment to thank you, whether you are watching on YouTube or whether you're listening to the audio on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest today. And here's my friendly reminder to you. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's wide open. So my challenge to you is to go all in on this conversation, to remove any distractions and get laser focused on the here and the now. And I guarantee you, you will gain a valuable nugget of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sport, but more importantly, in the game of life. I've been looking forward to my conversation with my special guest today. It's interesting. This conversation was a quick turnaround. We had some mutual connections and, life's all divine timing. It's brought us together. There was an opportunity to have a conversation. So he went all in. He saw it and he jumped headfirst all in. My guest in the huddle today is an Ottawa GG's alum. He's currently serving as a member with the Ottawa REDBLACKS in the Canadian Football League. My guest and is also the co-founder of JP7s. My guest in the huddle today is James Peter. How are you today, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Appreciate the introduction. It was amazing.
It's all good, brother. Before we get kicked off, pun
Sure.
intended, I just want to take a moment to count my blessings.
Mm.
For me, this is a daily practice.
Okay.
Some days I do it better than others, but I do find the days where I'm most intentional and most consistent counting my blessings. I do
Right.
find those days are filled with a little bit more love, a little bit more joy, a little bit more peace. And I'm a big
Okay.
believer, biggest blessing you can give anyone is your time and energy. So just want to thank you again for blessing us with some of your time and energy here
I
today, brother.
appreciate you for real. I appreciate you a lot. This is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get started. One of the things that I often like to remind others, most importantly myself, is that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. I had a coaching colleague and a good friend that would always remind us, hey, we all have these things that make us unique and different. Our responsibility is really to celebrate them. So I'm curious, what's an interesting fact about you that maybe a lot of people don't know that you'd be open to sharing with our community today?
An interesting fact about me. Um, shoot, I would say an interesting fact about myself would be, hmm, that's a good question, actually. I'm a firm believer of manifesting. I believe that if you manifest anything or whatever you want to do in life, you can attain it. So that's an interesting fact about myself. I feel that whatever you want to attain, just think about it, visualize it, and then it can be brought to life.
Mm, I love that. And it's a great reminder on the power of the mind, right? Like you
Exactly
first
that.
have to believe it before
Yeah,
you can actually see it.
see it, and then before you can actually do it. Exactly.
So I'm curious, one of the interesting things about your journey is you're a hometown guy. Like you are the proverbial hometown guy.
Yeah.
You started as a high quality athlete, right? Obviously growing up in Ottawa, playing high school football in Ottawa, transitioning to the GGs, and now you're playing with the Red Blacks.
Yeah.
So it's obviously very evident sport has played an important role for you in your life. I'm curious, what is a life lesson? And I know you could probably share, dozens of them. What's a life lesson you found you've taken from sport that you
Mhm.
find yourself applying to other areas of your life today?
The biggest life lesson that I've taken from sport is that mentality of like we say in football, the next play, right? Even if you have a bad play, don't focus on that bad play.
Mhm.
Focus on the next one, how you could do better. In life, there's going to be multiple obstacles you face, a lot of challenges you face,
Mhm.
and it all depends on how you react to those obstacles and those challenges. If you take those obstacles and challenges and you let it eat you alive, then you're not going to
Mhm.
get anywhere. You start idling, you start pausing. And in life,
Mhm.
you never want to pause. You always want to keep moving forward. So, a big thing for myself that I've taken from football and I put towards my life is just keep moving forward no matter what the situation may be. Just keep moving forward. You have to get better. You will get better, but you have to keep moving forward for you to get better.
Mm. I love it. I love that idea of next play mentality. Interestingly enough, that is something that is part of what I do in my leadership coaching practice is helping that next play mentality as well, right? Like how does that apply to sport, business, relationships, finances? I am curious, was that something that a great coach, a teacher, a mentor, parent, a loved one helped you to understand, like sort of that power of that next play mentality in your life?
Of course, like I feel at the level of like as you go through your journey of life, especially in sport, coaches tell you it, people that you look up to tell you it, but it's up to you to really actually take the words and to honestly eat the words and to let it process in your brain, right? You hear it all the time, and as a kid, I definitely heard it tons of time, but I never understood it, right? It wasn't
Mm,
until I guess you'd say my university career to the pros that I actually really started to understand what it meant about okay, the next play, right? Moving forward. Don't let that type of stuff or whatever happen idle you, stop
mm,
you, right? So it was definitely something that yes, I've heard, but I feel like over time, it's something that I had to I had to get stronger in. I had
mm,
to actually, build building that resilience, the
mhm.
ability to even keep going. So over time, yeah, it's something I just kept building up.
So it sounds like for you, you identified this ability to really have this next play mentality, to actually like embody it, to demonstrate it, right? And like you said, skills like resilience, the ability to, move forward.
Right.
It sounds like for you, this is a daily practice. It's something you actually, train your mind to do.
Every day, like it's something I always remind myself when I wake up. Just like yourself, I count my blessings, right? I feel like that's super important. I thank God for the day. Thank Him for what's in front of me, the present. Uh,
Mm,
and no matter what challenges I face during the day, I know
mm,
that if I keep that mindset of moving forward, that my day will end up, you know, great. I'll be greater than I was yesterday, right?
mm.
That's all it is for me personally. I just got to be greater than I was yesterday, regardless what's thrown at me. As long as I can just keep going through it and just be resilient through all of it,
Mhm.
that's all that matters. I feel.
It's interesting as you share that, and two things really jumped out. Your practice of sharing some appreciation, some gratitude, some thankfulness for all the
Of course,
blessings in your life.
always important.
And the other thing that you talked about was just this idea of keeping your eyes on the road ahead, right? And I guess here's where the curiosity goes is I think most people like that idea, right? Like
Correct.
the eyes are road. And I think we only evidence if, anyone that's ever been in a car,
Mhm.
cars give us a great representation. If we simply look at the size of the front windshield versus the rear view mirror, like
Correct.
that just
Correct.
reminds us where our eyes
Yeah.
should be more often than not.
Yeah. Not behind us is actually a cool analogy. That's a very cool analogy. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how have things shifted? How have things manifested different in your life as you've learned to tap into this next play mentality on and off the football field?
um, for me personally, through me manifesting, especially now, I'm able to actually bring things to life, right?
Mm,
And it's taken me not as long of a journey that has taken me from previous, right? So the football journey definitely manifested in getting here. It was my whole life, right? But ever since then, ever since I kind of built myself up and I've
Mhm.
conquered that ability to manifest, that it's not something that I feel that it's so out of reach, if that makes
Mhm.
sense, right? I feel like I can attain it within like a month if I really put my mind to it, for instance, right? Rather than saying, oh, I can attain this in a year, right? So I feel like just the ability for me to be so strong in it, I'm
Mhm.
able to attain things a lot quicker than saying
Mhm.
putting things years of timelines of ahead and stuff like that.
Mm. So it sounds for you, it's you've sort of trained your mind and developed that muscle, that next play mentality muscle to look at it's not a question of if I'll get there. It's
I'll
just
get there.
simply a question of when I'll get
Yeah,
there.
exactly. I know I'm gonna get there. At the end of the day, I know I'm gonna get there. But it's more of a sense, like you said, when am I gonna get there? Right?
Hmm. Now it's interesting. It sounds all warm and fuzzy, right? Like that
Mm,
idea, like you have to actually, see it in your mind before it can actually see it in the physical 3D world, right?
correct.
And that's actually going to inspire you to actually do the work.
Correct.
I was speaking to a group of high quality athletes, and I said, "Hey, what's the best way at getting better at a skill?" We were talking about public speaking,
Mm.
and this high quality athlete goes, "Do the thing,"
Yeah, practice
right?
it. Practice it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
practice it.
Yeah. Talk it. Say it in the mirror. Just go
Yeah.
over time. Just, you know, let it verbalize it. The best way for a lot of things is you gotta verbally say it. Because if you just believe in your mind, it's not you're not putting it out there in the world yet. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
when you verbalize things, when you speak it to life, when you see yourself and envision yourself doing it,
Mhm.
it becomes real life.
So it sounds like for you, it's really helped you as you've created more of these wins, as you've learned how to take some of these practices on the field and these physical realities have started to happen, becoming, playing for the GGs, becoming a all Canadian, getting drafted to the pros. It's almost like you've just sort of like, okay, you've shown yourself what's possible. And it's like, what's next? What can I do next? What else can I do to help and serve this world?
What else can I attain? What else can I do better? Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
always you always can do better than what you did previously, right? It's
Mhm.
never like, oh, I didn't or what I attained before, I can't outdo myself in it. I can always outdo myself or I always can outdo whatever I did previously.
Mhm. So it's interesting you bring up this idea because it feels and it looks like a lot of the current pro athletes, especially, we're speaking from the Canadian Football League perspective. Yes, you are manifesting your dreams of playing at that highest level. But it feels like, and I see it more where you see more athletes, high quality athletes, wanting to give back to their community. They're wanting to use their platform as a vehicle to inspire the next generation. Is that are you seeing that too, or I'm kind of curious from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm 100%. I'm just like that as well. I feel like giving back is mandatory, especially when you've had so many people within your society or within your community that helped you build up. I myself, being an Ottawa kid, I didn't do this all alone. I had to support my friends, my family, the people around me. I felt everybody's energy, right? I felt
Mhm.
everybody basically saying, "Hey, yo, you could really do this," you know. And at that point, it's like, okay, I'm at a point where I can actually help, right? Through everybody's support, I got here. So now it's in a sense like, okay, how can I give back? How can I do more for my community? Because
Mhm.
they supported me to get to this point, right? So to me personally, when you get to this point, it's all about giving back because
Mhm.
got here, it wasn't on your own. As much as yes, you ran on the field by yourself, gym by yourself, you
Mhm.
had a support system. You had people telling you you could do it. You had people telling you keep going, right?
Mhm.
All that stuff, it helped me. It built me up to be who I am today, right? So
Mhm.
100%, I feel it's mandatory to give back, especially when you get to this point.
It's interesting you share that, right? It sounds like you've had some great coaches and mentors and caring adults in your life that have seen what's possible for you. They've chosen to, see what they believed was possible for you, and they shined their light on you, which then helped you shine brighter and helped you sort of elevate, right, to the next level
Oh,
in your life.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Curious. So one of the interesting things, what connected us is you started to want to give back to your community. So yeah, would love to know kind of
Okay.
how is all this integrated? You have this amazing story with your own journey as a high quality athlete, but now
Right.
you're starting to give back to the community. Yeah, would love to hear more about what inspired
Okay.
this.
Yeah. So for myself, so being an Ottawa kid, it's very hard. It's very tough to make it out of Ottawa while being in Ottawa, and even while being in Ottawa itself, to gain those opportunities, to gain those moments where you can, give yourself exposure or get exposure to see or be seen at the next level. It's tough. A lot of kids, they leave the city, they go places NCAA to get those opportunities. Right. I
Mhm.
myself, I didn't have that luxury. I didn't have that ability, didn't have the finance, all that type of stuff. So for me personally, my whole journey was I wanted to be that one, that 1%, that one person out in Ottawa that could really do it in Ottawa, despite the challenges, despite all the things that people told me, but also through the support that I had with, or the support system that I had to build me up.
Mhm.
That being said, um, like you said, drafted Red Blacks, played the UGGs, all amazing stuff. Um, but it kind of brought me to the point where I am able to give back. So what I'm currently doing is I'm doing a youth camp. It's called JP7s. We partner with the Red Blacks, New Ottawa GGs, to bring light to a camp where we're developing young athletes within the city of Ottawa and giving them the opportunities that I myself didn't have. There's a lot
Mhm.
of kids out here, super talented kids, right?
Mhm.
But again, finance might be an issue. Uh, there's a lot of kids out nowadays, right? So exposure to see the kids nowadays is an issue, right? But what we want to do is we want to give them that light where they're able to even showcase themselves, showcase their skills, and at the same time, give them the opportunity to learn life skills, learn football skills, learn all these type of skills that they can translate into whatever sport they play, whatever field they go into in their life, throughout their journey, all that stuff. So what we're kind of doing is we have a 2-day event. um, we're doing like positional training with a couple of, or with a lot of Red Blacks guys and a lot of us UGG players, the old players of mine. We're doing positional training, basically giving them tools that they could use within their own teams and then in real life. And then we're gonna do like a competition period. That way they, are able to showcase what they can really do against other athletes in the Ottawa region.
Mhm.
And then we have a lot of cool guest speakers, a mindset coach to get them that ability, give them those tools where they're actually able to, slow down the game, slow down their mind, build that mental resilience, build that keep going or next play mentality, right? I feel like all
Mhm.
that stuff is super important. That's what built me and that's what got me to this point, right? So we just want to give those kids these tools and then give them the opportunity where they actually could, potentially gain exposure to play at the next level. And over time, just build these kids up, you know. Um, each year, this is something we want to do every year in the city
Mhm.
of Ottawa. But each year, just give more kids and more kids opportunities where they can showcase themselves in football and then gain skills that they can use in life and where they could use these skills in their own teams. So that's the cool thing with the event we got going on. So JP7s, yeah, James Peter 7. It's cool. A lot of exciting things we got coming up with it. Yeah.
It's interesting that you share that, and a couple things. One, it's really cool that you've been able to connect and make this a true community based event, right? Like it's great
Right.
that you've been able to tap in, you've been able to bring elements from your GG's days.
Yep.
You're
Yep.
bringing from your Ottawa, your OSEG days, right? And then you're bringing in all these, you know, obviously guys that you've played with on field and bringing in community partners, and it really sounds like it's simply you're simply using your platform as a
Mhm.
professional athlete to
Right.
create this vehicle for to get exposure so they can get their name out there, so they can
Yeah.
kind of hopefully one day, if that's their path, get to do what you get to do on a daily basis.
Exactly. And that way they're able to do it while being in their own home city, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really want to start something in Ottawa and we really get it going.
Mm-hmm.
That way, kids don't have to, or they don't need to feel the need to leave, right? They can actually stay home in the comfort of their family, their loved ones, their friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt for myself, that was the biggest thing. having that, my
Mm,
friends, my family, everybody here around me, my support system, it really helped me, despite or compared to me if I were to leave, for instance, and not have them around, right? So
mm,
giving them that ability or giving them that platform where they're able to, stay home and be
mhm,
homegrown, I feel it's
mm.
something that it's like any kid or every kid would wish for, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? It's as you share that, it's a great reminder that some past people, yes, some people want to spread their proverbial wings and go away from home,
Right.
where
100%.
other people want the opportunity to stay home and still have the same great experience, but maybe
Exactly.
just a little bit closer to loved ones.
No, 100%. 100%.
So curious with that being said,
Mhm.
is what I think what's really unique about your journey is that everything that you've got here, right? Like, one thing I often remind, whenever I'm blessed to go like speak, is this idea of every experience in your life up to this point is preparing you for something greater.
Exactly.
And why that resonates with me, especially your story, is
Right.
from a physical standpoint, from physical metrics.
Yeah.
You don't fit the mold of a prototypical linebacker based on
No,
how you've been able to, but you've
no,
challenged.
no.
So again, there's certain things, right? Okay, you may not check the boxes in terms of the physical size and stature, right? But you
Right.
ball, right? You weren't able, it just wasn't part of your journey to leave home, right? You stayed home, you're homegrown. How much of this sort of challenging, the status quo, conventional wisdom, mainstream thinking, do you think has driven you to get to where you are today?
It definitely challenged me in the sense of how passionate or how determined do I really want it? How passionate
Mm.
am I for this game? How much love do I have for it? Am I truly dedicated? Like you said, I'm undersized as a linebacker, right? And that's something I've been always told throughout my whole life. You're undersized, you're undersized. Even through the draft process, they told me the same thing too, right? And like honestly, like I just let it be. Like I left it up to God. I knew at the end of the day, like despite all these metrics and stuff like that, I know internally that I'm passionate for this, right? And I built that passion, and that only was built over time through hearing things like you're undersized or even the support that I had, right? Um, so yeah, that's something that, like, back to the resilience again. You should become resilient to all of it, and then you should become passionate. It causes you to uh, challenge your determination, whether if you really want it or not. And definitely, there's been a lot of times where I've told myself, like, honestly, like, is football really the route for me? But at the end of the day, like, I told myself, like, I can make it or I will make it. Right? That's something I've
Mhm.
always told myself. I will make it. So most definitely, it definitely challenged me. Uh, if I It definitely challenged me in the sense if I really wanted it, right?
Mm.
At the end of the day, that was the main thing I had to put on the line. Do I really want this for myself? And then I had to basically look back at my support system and see how, or yeah, look at back at my support system and see if they seen that same vision that I seen in myself, right? So
Mhm.
therefore, all of it kind of like meshed into one, and therefore, like, it just made me more wanting to get it, made me more motivated to just keep moving forward to get to this point.
I appreciate you sharing that, and it's interesting. As you said that, I was reminded of a Les Brown quote, and I'll paraphrase it, but it
Yep.
really resonates with your journey, right? Like you were saying, people sharing all these things that they perceive that you didn't possess,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And Les Brown sort of talks about other people's perceptions of you don't have to become your reality,
No, not at all.
right? And I
Mm.
love how you just, again, you went back to your inner circle, people that, are sort of your sort of ride or dies that unconditionally love you and care about you and support you, to sort of be like, kind of maybe help push you forward, maybe in those
Yeah,
times where you question, because we all question sometimes when we're
all the
striving and
time.
we're
It's
aspiring for
normal.
greatness.
We're human beings, and so it's all normal at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, like, if you could mentally tell yourself, despite what people tell me, I will attain it, not I can attain it. I will attain it, you
Mhm,
will attain it, right?
mhm.
It's all again, if you verbalize it, if you believe it, if you really see that true potential in yourself, you can attain anything you want.
Curious, how important do you think it is? Like one thing you shared, earlier in our conversation today was, it's funny. We got this cliche in sports around competition, right? And it's interesting because at the surface level, it looks like we're sort of trained and conditioned to believe we're competing against the person across from us, the other team, right? Like it's sort of the zero-sum game. If I'm winning, he's losing. If I'm losing, he's winning.
Yeah.
But you made a distinction there. You said the only person I'm in competition with is
It's
the
me.
person I was yesterday, right?
Exactly.
And again, it's that possibility, right? So has that always been part of your, you know, mentality, that next play mentality, or is that something that over time you've just learned as you've walked your journey?
Definitely as I walk my journey, it's something I've definitely just learned just through the challenges that I faced.
Mm-hmm.
Uh like everybody at one point, I definitely was comparing myself to all these people I see on social media,
Mm-hmm.
YouTubers, TikTok nowadays for these kids, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like all of that, the greatest NFL players, you know, I used to watch their film all the time and compare myself and try to visualize myself moving how they move, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I kind of learned my own play style and I learned who I am as a human being, I just started visualizing me doing plays, me making plays, me going to the gym, me hitting the field. All of it was just visualizing myself doing it rather than visualizing the next person do it and then trying to put
Mm-hmm.
myself in their shoes. Because I feel like when you start putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, you're not really making a path for yourself. You're just trying to follow a path that is already made, which is okay. But at the same time, you're your own person.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you have to find your own way in life. You have to find your own way in this journey that you're going through. So definitely, that's something I struggled with at first, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but over time, it's became easier because it just like you practice it every day. You practice, right? So I practiced it every day, and I just kept envisioning myself do things, myself achieving things, and
Mm-hmm.
it just brought me here. It brought me here. Yeah, it brought me to the pros, brought me all this cool stuff. Yeah.
It's interesting as you share, and it sounds like again you were sort of highlighting these idea that you have these mental muscles, right? So obviously in sport, most people in the, we see people with these 3D like our physical muscles. But
Yeah.
really what you've done is you've talked about practicing using these mental muscles, right? Like you talked about this idea, the ability to sit down and visualize every morning. That's your will. That's your ability to focus on the being right here, right now. The
Right.
visualizing of the imagination, right? Of something that physically hasn't happened yet in the 3D world, but you imagine yourself being right here, right now. So it's interesting how you've tapped into these mental muscles. It's interesting how life has continued to get bigger, more beautiful, and richer.
Yeah. One cool thing, like my coach taught me. So Coach Brad Miller, my linebacker coach in my last year, University of Ottawa, he would always he would always give quotes. He's a very quote guy. But one thing that he really said, he wrote this on the board, and I had to take a picture of it, and I look at it every day. He said football is four mental to one physical, right? And it took me some time to kind of understand what he meant by that. But over time, as I kind of just feed off of, or as I try to just digest what he said or what he wrote on that board that day, I started to realize that football isn't like, yes, it's all physical at the end of the day, right? But you go through 5, 6 years of university, you're training your body, right? So therefore, guys around you, you're all at that point. You're all that at that point where you're physically strong. You're grown men, right?
Mhm.
But it's all about if I can really tell myself, okay, I can line up with the next guy and I can do, or I can beat him one on one, or I could make this play, right? So what he was basically trying to say is that no matter how strong your body is, your mental has to be 4 times stronger than your body, right? Therefore, you have to be able to manifest and visualize yourself doing things. You have to be able to use these mental muscles, because these mental muscles are what's going to get you further compared to your physical asset. Everybody is physically dominant. Everybody is
Mm,
physically they need to be, because everybody went through those 5, 6 years of university where they prepared their body, right? Now
mm,
it's about preparing your mental. Even in the pros, it's all mental. Everybody is physically there. Everybody's physically strong. It's
mm,
all about enduring. Can I mentally tell myself I can endure 18 games? Can I mentally tell myself I can endure all the stuff that I'm throwing at me as I'm going through the season, right?
mm,
So that's one thing that really stuck with me as I went through my university, or my last year of university, and then to my pro year. And it's cool because like when he told me that, it was at the beginning of camp, and then when I actually started digest it, it was just before like our first game, and I really clicked it in. I was like, oh, this is what he really meant. And at that point, like the game just started slowing down for me. I
mm,
felt like I entered that flow state every game. Every game, I was just in that flow state because I realized and I really digested what he was trying to tell me at that just by writing it on the board. And then that same year, that's the year that I had that all Canadian year, right? So it all just like it all happened so smoothly, but at the same time, it's all about the mental piece. If you could really figure out the mental piece, then you could figure out or you can attain anything and everything that you want to do. Yeah, it was cool.
mm.
Cool.
So it sounds like for you, you realize that as you've gotten sort of elevated to different levels of sport, right?
Yeah,
Whether, high school to university, university to pro, right? The gap in the physical skills just shrinks, right? Like
huge.
everyone's big, strong, and fast.
Yeah,
But then in university, started to realize the separator was the mental, right?
the mental piece.
Curious there. One thing, we talk about this idea of champions for life, integrating
Yep.
spirit, mind, and body. Talking to you, you can definitely tell you are someone, a faith that has a spiritual practice as well. Um, what have you noticed as you entered and sort of integrated all three, the spirit, the mind, and the body?
I've been more in tuned with myself.
Mm,
So like I'm really big on I can feel energies. I can really feel like parts of my body that say like that need more love than the other.
mhm,
Um, yeah, so I'm more in tune with myself. I'm in tune with my emotions, in tune with how my body feels, what I want to work out, what needs to be worked out even more, little nicks, little pains that I have, like all these little sensations that I just feel, right? So
mhm,
that's just one thing from me mastering or being able to practice all three and just
mhm,
building up all three. It's really gotten me just to be more internalized with who I am and what my body and what my mind really needs. Yeah, and what
mhm,
to feed it, whether it be reading, whether it be actual food, right?
mhm.
But just exactly just what it really needs to keep going.
It's interesting. I love that you shared that. Like, what is it that my body needs right now?
Yeah.
Right. And you talked about books, food. Is it workout? Is it therapy? Right. Is it,
Hmm.
being around other, strong
People.
and powerful
Yeah.
leaders?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds again that you've found that sort of harmony between being sort of that emotion, that ambition, that drive, that passion, which makes you great on the field,
Yep.
but then also following with that logic, that game plan, right, for life,
Yeah.
whether it's a game plan to, for the weekend on the football field, or that game plan for
Or the
life,
business.
right? Business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Business and
Okay.
any and everything. It all translates at the end of the day. I feel
Yeah.
like once you actually truthfully like I get no, I don't want to say master because you're always able to get better, right? But when you actually start practicing all three and you get to the point that you're cognizant that you're getting stronger in a sense,
Mhm.
um, you feel it. It's just something you feel, right? It's all about the
Mhm.
feel. Yeah, yeah. It's
Mhm.
hard. It's hard to verbally like say it. You just you feel it, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, right? It's you provide a great reminder that we live in a world that trains us and conditions that I have to see it to believe it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
If it's something I can touch, if it's something I can taste, if it's something I can smell, it feels more real.
Yeah.
But really what you're saying is, being a high quality, whether it's being high quality and a high performer on the football field and business and your relationships and your finances and life. It's really a feeling. It's the energy and it's the
It's a feeling.
enthusiasm, the passion you bring to everything.
All of it. All of it. Everything, all of it. It translates to everything and everything, like literally, like yeah,
Mm, mm. Great reminder that life is really it's the energy you bring into the room.
exactly, exactly.
Okay. Um, I got two last questions. I want to be respectful of your time and energy.
No, I appreciate you.
You've spent time in the locker rooms that many high quality athletes want to be in. So I'm curious, and here's a distinction. I think very often one question I ask myself is, are you acting like a thermometer, which takes the temperature of the room, which is allows things outside of them to tell them how hot or cold they're running?
Mhm,
Or this idea, are you acting like a thermostat? Do you set the temperature of your room? You know, when you walk into a room, do you bring the energy and enthusiasm, the passion that changes the temperature of the room?
mhm, mhm.
I'm curious from you, from being around other high quality, high performers, do most people typically act like thermometers where they sort of allow other people to dictate kind of how the energy they bring, or do they act more like thermostats where, you know, they set the temperature for the room, they bring their energy and they elevate those around them?
I definitely in the pro setting, everybody acts a bit like a thermostat. So therefore, everybody's levels are high. You could feel the heat in the room, right? You could feel the energy that, okay, like I need to be on my A game. I need to be perfect. I need to be great. That's one thing we always say, need to be great. So definitely everybody in the room has that, but it only elevates you even more, which is amazing. You know what I mean? So just being around those people, it's just causing me to even higher my temperature up. Therefore, I gotta be warmer because I gotta meet or yeah, I gotta be at the same level as these guys. You know what I mean? I can't be off. I can't lower the room.
Mhm.
So everybody around me definitely thermostat. So yeah,
Well, it's interesting, right? It's that old, you know, it's that sort of old proverb that iron sharpens iron.
yep, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We got one last question for you.
Sure.
So, James, I know you've piqued interest. One, again, your journey has I'm sure sparked some curiosity on what's possible for others. But I'm also sure that you have, you know, piqued the interest of someone that might be looking for a way to, you know, share their gifts and talents, right, with other people, and you know, maybe it's piqued their interest around what you're helping to grow JP7s. Um, what's the best way that people can learn more about the journey, follow along your journey, or just really help support what you're
Mm.
helping to grow in the city of Ottawa?
Um, yeah, so the best way to support, so currently right now we have a little sponsorship program that we're doing. So anybody that knows any kids that are, athletes that want to be in that athletic realm that love the game. It doesn't have to be football, but just love playing sports, love having fun, love community engagement. We're doing what we call like a sponsorship program. So you can sponsor any athlete within your city to actually not within your city, any athlete within your community to actually participate and play in our showcase event and our development camp that we have going on. And over time, we're going to have like more development camps uh, going throughout the season as I'm playing, as other guys are playing. That way, kids are able to see us play, but also, receive the coaching at the same time for us. I feel like having those two at hand at the same time is a really cool piece. It's one piece that honestly I wish I had as a young athlete, able to be coached by like a pro coach. One is crazy, but also go and watch him play and to actually see him like on field is another thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that is one piece that we're currently doing with that. But also just like you could check us out, Jay's Peter Sevens on social medias, on Google, on everything.
Mhm.
You could see what we're doing there. But also you can check out like the current journey of myself. I've kind of brought to life my journey through that whole JP Sevens realm. Just
Mhm.
basically talking about who I am, an Ottawa born kid, the things that I've gone through just throughout the process of getting here, what it takes to get here, the people I met, the networking that I met, the people I communicated with, how important those people are, how important social networking is, how important it is to kindle these relationships, to hold on to people that make you better. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to surround yourself with. People that make you better, that make you great. That's the
Mhm.
only way to attain what you really want to attain. You want to be around people that, set the bar high. Like you said earlier, they make the temperature in the room hot. As uncomfortable as it gets for some people, as uncomfortable as it gets, that's what you need. You need that uncomfortableness. You never want to be comfortable. So most definitely, yeah, they can support through that. Just checking us out, sponsoring a kid. Anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me directly. But yeah, so that would be amazing for real. Yeah.
Absolutely, brother. And we'll be happy to share all of those
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
handles. We'll be happy to share all those handles in the description, either on
Awesome.
YouTube or on the podcast. Brother, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the great man you are, the great
Appreciate
son,
that
the
too.
great teammate. Really, again, I know there's going to be some mentorship and coaching that is going to be on your journey if that's what you want to
Right.
manifest down the road.
Yep.
But really want to thank you for reminding us on the power of the mind, right? That the beautiful
Strong.
things happen when you can harness this and
Mhm.
start to use it in a way that serves you, right? That
Exactly.
allows you to serves you, remind you on possibility, on potential, on opportunity. So thank you, brother, for sharing that reminder. And
Appreciate you,
I'm
JT. It means a lot for real to be on your platform. This is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. This is cool. I love what you're doing too. Keep going forward. I look forward to everything and anything that you got going on, and I love to be involved.
Absolutely, brother. So, folks, James dropped so many valuable nuggets of wisdom that will not only help you succeed in sport, but more importantly, in the game of life. But as I like to remind you every week in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the
Right.
consistent and focused application of great knowledge that actually creates greater results in your life. And as I like to remind you every week in the huddle, you are deserving of greatness. You are worthy of greatness. You are greatness. And my challenge to you today is to take one of these valuable nuggets of wisdom that James shared and go apply it to your life today. And my only ask from these conversations, if it resonated with you, if it touched your heart, then please share it with a friend, a loved one, a teammate, or just someone you think that would benefit from listening to these positive, inspiring, and empowering ideas. The more people we have listening, understanding, and applying these simple principles to their life, the more blessed this world will be. As always, love having these conversations with you in the huddle. Have a blessed rest of your day.